It's that time of year again. Here in the south of Sweden, it is still warm, but it is cool enough that I can pretend that sweater weather is just around the corner. Today we actually have 20 degrees, but there have been a few days where it's been around 16, and you could at least think about wearing like a thin wool cardigan or something. The time is finally here for me to get to do the autumn knitting inspirations video. And I have collected all of the most gorgeous and inspiring autumn garments for you to knit. And in this episode, I will present to you 22 of those that I have picked out and that I really love. And they are all going to be perfect for autumn. In this episode will be featured everything from tops to sweaters, cardigans, skirts, and also a dreamy dress. So hang in there and we will go through all of these 22 patterns. First, I will talk a little bit about what inspires me this autumn. I feel like I have been leaning more towards simple silhouettes. I want to knit some more staple pieces because that is something that I need in my wardrobe. The lace craze from summer is still going to come with me into this episode and into the autumn. And of course, color work is a big thing as soon as it starts to get a little bit colder. But this time I'm actually not talking about any color work yokes. So the sweaters, I think it's only sweaters actually, that I will be talking about in this episode are either all over color work or they have like stripes or bands of color work across the body. I will only be talking about one cabled piece, and I feel a bit bad about that because autumn is really the season of cables, and I think that cabled garments are really inspiring this time of year. The reason for this is probably because I have like 2 cabled sweaters on my needles that I am about to pick back up, and that is the sweater number 20 and the August cardigan. So in the back of my mind, that's probably what happened when I looked through all of these patterns. For colors, I am switching out the brighter summer colors for more muted ones. And since I am cool skinned, or I'm cool toned, mauve is the perfect autumn color for me, I feel. I'm also leaning into purples and teals. And for my neutral, I have picked a foggy grey, which is perfect for a southern Swedish autumn. I mean, the beginning of autumn is really beautiful, but then comes the rain and the fogs and all of that horrible stuff that just goes on all through the winter. We don't get a lot of snow. So unfortunately, it's like November for 3 months, if that's even enough. I'm going to pretend it's just 3 months. Well, enough about the weather. All of these patterns, when I mention gauge, it's calculated over 10 centimeters or 4 inches, and it is stockinette stitch that it is measured in, unless I say otherwise. Hi, hello, and welcome to Knit in the City. I am Rebecca. The city is an aspiration, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get into all of the patterns. And the first category is layering pieces, and in this category I will be talking about tops and tees. I have been drawn to sleeveless tops with turtlenecks or mock necks every time I've seen them, so a few of those will crop up in this episode. All of the items selected I intend to wear as a layering piece under other garments like cardigans, shirts, jackets, anything like that. And some of these patterns were intended for summer wear, but if I get as far as to knit them, I will be knitting them in wool. The first one is Top Frank by Mochi Knits, and this classy mock neck top is rather fitted and knit from the bottom up. The neckline is knit in a twisted rib, and the armholes seem to have an I-cord around. It doesn't say in the pattern specs. It is knit in a fingering weight yarn on 2.75 and 3mm needles, which is a US 2 and 2.5, for a gauge of 30 stitches. So this is like a really fine gauge pattern. But of course, it has no sleeves, so it's not going to take forever. And this sample is knit in a cotton linen blend, but like I said, I would be knitting it in a wool yarn or a wool blend yarn. The next one is an old favorite, an old classic that I actually haven't gotten around to knit yet, and that is the Tonight Top by Lily Kate France. I've actually not knit anything from her, which I feel really bad about, and I should absolutely do something about that. But this is quite similar to the previous one, but it seems to have a bit more of positive ease. It also has a higher neck, which is knit in a 2-2 rib. And the construction is also different. This one is knit from the top down, and it has double knitted armhole edgings for a neat finishing. It also has a decorative texture detail on the sides, and also bust dart options for those of us who need that. It comes in 9 sizes for a bust circumference from 28 to 62 inches or 71 to 157 centimeters. It has an intended positive ease of 1 to 3 inches or 2.5 to 7.5 centimeters. The top is knit in a fingering weight yarn on 3 and 3.25 millimeter needles, which is a US 2.5 and 3, for a gauge of 26 stitches. It is knit in a wool silk blend yarn for a rather luxurious garment. The next one I think no one has missed, and that is the Ivy Top by Petite Knit. And I have a whopping 2 Petite Knit patterns in this roundup, so that is kind of crazy. For those of you who don't know, I have not knit a lot of Petite Knit patterns. But this is one that a lot of people were talking about this summer, and I don't know, but I just feel really drawn to it. There is something about it. I think the shoulder construction looks really neat, and the mock neck has the perfect height. This is knit in a thicker yarn than the previous 2 tops, which is good news for all of us who are impatient. It comes in 9 sizes, 2XS to 5XL, with an intended negative ease of 6 centimeters or 2.25 inch. It is knit holding 2 strands of a fingering weight yarn together, which gives you a DK weight and a gauge of 20 stitches. It is knit in a plant fiber blend or a silk yarn. The next one is a t-shirt, and that is another Lily Kate France pattern. It is the Feels Right tee. This classic tee is knit from the top down, starting at the back. The cap sleeves are made using short rows. It comes in 9 sizes to fit a bust from 28 to 62 inches or 71 to 157 centimeters. It has a recommended positive ease of 2 to 4 inches, which is 5 to 10 centimeters. It's knit in a fingering weight yarn on 2.75 and 3.25 millimeter needles, which is a US 2 and 3, and that hopefully gives you a gauge of 26 stitches. It is knit in a cotton yarn. The next one is the Vanilla tee from Sari Nordlund's book Summer Knits that I have been knitting from like crazy. This is a lace yoke tee, and in the right fiber it is perfect as a layering piece under a cardigan or a jacket. It's knit from the top down and has a round yoke construction. It comes in 9 sizes with a finished bust circumference of 82 to 146 centimeters, which is 32.25 to 64.5 inches. It has a recommended positive ease of 6 centimeters or 2.25 inch. It's knit in a fingering weight yarn on 3 and 3.5 millimeter needles, which is a US 2.5 and 4 for a gauge of 22 stitches. The sample is knit in an alpaca, linen and silk blend yarn, and that is what gives it this lovely halo. Now we're on to the next category, and that is sweaters. And autumn is of course sweater time, both to knit and to wear. I have brought in a few more lightweight sweaters into this category, but I've also picked heavier ones that you can wear without a jacket when it gets a little bit colder. The first one is the Sabai sweater by Susanne Müller. And the Sabai top has been a very popular pattern, both last summer when it came out and this summer as well. And this summer the designer released the Sabai sweater with the same boat neck and easy top-down construction. It can be knit both with and without short rows, so if you're a beginner, this is a very good pattern for you. It comes in 6 sizes, extra small to 2XL, and it has a recommended positive ease of 15 to 20 centimeters or 6 to 8 inches. It is knit on a fingering weight, not on a fingering weight yarn, in a fingering weight yarn, on 4mm or US 6 needles for an area gauge of 22 stitches. The samples are knit in a cotton or a wool cashmere blend. The next one is the Lucina pullover by Sari Nordlund. Another light and airy pattern is this mohair jumper with its cute bow tie in the back. This is another pattern from Sari's book Summer Knits, and it's knit top down, holding 2 strands of lace mohair together. It comes in 9 sizes with a finished bust circumference of 85 to 166.5 centimeters, which is 33.5 to 65.5 inches, and it has a recommended positive ease of 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The sweater is knit holding 2 strands of lace together on 4 and 5mm needles, US 6 and 8, so that gives you an area gauge of 16 stitches. The next one is the Seoul blouse by Eggio Knit. And for some reason I have picked 4 different patterns from this designer for this roundup, so I guess she's doing something great here. It feels like there has to be a cast on from her at some point. This blouse has a contemporary colorwork pattern all across the body, a relaxed fit and a drapey fabric. It is a drop shoulder construction and it has a boat neck. There are a few boat necks in this roundup as well. The garment comes in 4 sizes with a finished chest circumference of 120 to 144 centimeters, so it's not a big range here. That is 47.2 to 56.7 inches. The amount of ease is not given, but you can tell from the pictures that this is quite oversized. It's knit in a sport and a lace held together on 3.5 and 4.5mm needles, which is a US 4 and 7. And this should give you a gauge of 20 stitches. And this luxurious garment is knit in a linen silk blend held with a cashmere lace. So you can only imagine. Or maybe you can't. Maybe you have the money to do that. I certainly don't. Well, the next one is the Emma sweater by Sumin Kim. And the colorwork on this sweater has the same aesthetic vibe as the previous one, but this seems to be a little less oversized. It also has a raglan construction and a crew neck. It has a double folded collar and ribbed hem and cuffs. This sweater comes in 4 sizes for a finished bust circumference of 104 to 139 centimeters or 41 to 54.8 inches. It's knit in a DK weight yarn on 3.5 and 4mm needles, which is a US 4 and 6, for a gauge of 23 stitches. And this is also a luxurious piece. It is knit in a 100% cashmere yarn. The next one is the Bepeu blouse. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this correctly. By Eggio Knit. It's a polo neck blouse, and it has the potential to become a wardrobe staple. It is knit from the top, starting at the neck. You pick up stitches for the collar, which, like the cuff and hem, is knit in a 2-2 rib. The cuffs have a slit in them, which is really cute. This blouse comes in 8 sizes for a finished bust circumference of 100 to 170 centimeters, which is a 39.3 to 67 inches. The ease is not given in the pattern specs, but the blouse has an oversized look. It's knit in a DK held with a lace on 3 and 4mm needles, which is a 2.5 and 6 in US terms. And the gauge you want to hit is 21 stitches. The yarn used is a wool and a silk mohair held together. The next one is the Rosy sweater by Lenit or Lena Holme Samsø. And this lovely sweater was recommended to me by my friend. It has a decorative rose pattern in stripes around the body and sleeves. It is a top-down sweater with a combination of raglan and drop shoulder construction. Don't ask me how that is done, you have to buy the pattern. It has a ribbed turtleneck and ribbed hem and cuffs. It comes in 6 sizes, of which some are double sizes. Extra small, that's 1 size, to 5XL. and it has a recommended positive ease of 20 to 32 centimeters, so this is really oversized. That is 7 3/4 to 12.5 inches. It's knit in a fingering and the lace held together on 4 and 4.5 millimeter needles, which is a US 6 and 7, for a gauge of 21 stitches. The next one is the Jeju sweater by Eggio Knit, another Eggio Knit pattern. And this oversized sweater has a band of argyle-like colorwork around the body. It's knit from the top down, has a drop shoulder construction. The collar is double folded and hem and cuffs are knit in a twisted rib. I really like the wide sleeves on this sweater. It comes in 5 sizes with a finished bust circumference of 125 to 180 centimeters, which is 49 to 70.8 inches. The ease is not given in the pattern specs, but this is a very oversized garment. It's knit holding 2 strands of lace together on 3 and 4 millimeter needles, which is a US 2.5 and 6. And the gauge you want to hit is 21 stitches. The sample is knit with a wool and a silk mohair held together. The next one is an all-over colorwork sweater, and this is the Ovis by Caitlin Hunter. This is a fun sweater featuring sheep. I like that this one is less oversized than many of the other sweaters. It is knit top down and has a drop shoulder construction. You start at the back and pick up for the fronts before you start knitting in the round, which means you have to do colorwork flat for a bit. This is of course a hassle, but it's probably worth it considering how cute this sweater is. It comes in 9 sizes with a finished bust circumference of 32 to 68 inches, which is 81.5 to 172.5 centimeters. And if you've noticed that sometimes I mention the inches first and then the centimeters, and sometimes I do it the other way around, and that's just because of how it's done in the pattern I am talking about. So it's not that I'm confused or anything. That's just how the designer likes to put them forth. This one has a recommended positive ease of 4 inches or 10 centimeters. It is knit in a DK weight yarn on 3.75 and 4 millimeter needles, which is a US 5 and 7. And the gauge you want to hit here is 20 stitches, and the sweater is knit in 100% wool yarn. The next one is the Key sweater by Petite Knit, and this is my second Petite Knit pattern on this list. Who would have thought? I have loved this sweater since the moment I saw it. The colorwork pattern, the wide sleeves, and just the all-over contemporary feel of this one. I just want it. It's a top-down raglan construction. It has a ribbed neck, hem and cuffs. It has a turtleneck and short rows to raise the back. It's a simple sweater that would work well for someone who wasn't used to doing colorwork. It comes in 10 sizes, 2XS to 5XL, and it has a recommended positive ease of 25 centimeters or 9 3/4 inches. It's knit holding a strand of worsted and a strand of lace together on 4 and 4.5 millimeter needles, which is a US 6 and 7, for a gauge of 18 stitches. The yarn used is wool and a lace alpaca. And now we're at the next category, and this is actually my favorite autumn category. It's cardigans. And this is the perfect garment for a period of transition. It's easy to layer and it can be worn open or closed. The first one is the Tuileries cardigan by Sumin Kim. And I have talked about the Tuileries polo in a previous episode. I think that was the spring knitting inspo episode. And here is the cardigan with the same simple lace pattern. I love the light feel that this cardigan gives, and the V-neck just has the perfect depth. It is knit top down and it has a drop shoulder construction. It comes in 4 sizes with a finished bust circumference of 103 to 146.5 centimeters, which is 40.5 to 57.6 inches. So the range here is also not that. I mean, there are a few patterns here that just don't have enough sizes, but I just love them so much, so I had to talk about them anyway. The ease is not given in the pattern specs, but it seems to be slightly oversized. It's knit in an Aran weight yarn on 4 and 5 millimeter needles, which is US 5 and 8, for a gauge of 16.5 stitches. And the yarn used in this one is a brushed cashmere. The next one is the cardigan number 10 from My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I had to add a basic, or should I say classic, cardigan to the mix. And what better choice than one from the amazing My Favorite Things Knitwear. I just love her pattern so much. I have been missing some everyday pieces in my wardrobe, and this one will definitely fill a gap. There are so many things I like about this one. The deep v-neck, the wide sleeves, the double knit button band, and the decorative increases along the front and the neck opening. The shoulder construction uses the contiguous method for a great fit. The cardigan comes in 8 sizes, XS to 4XL, and it has a recommended positive ease of 10 to 12 centimeters, which is just perfect for layering. It's not too much, it's not too little. And that is 4 to 7 3/4 inches. It's knit in a worsted weight yarn on 2, 4 and 5 millimeter needles, which is a US 0, 6 and 8, for a gauge of 18 stitches. Don't ask me what you're doing with the 2 millimeter needles. You'll have to check the pattern for that. And this sample is knit in a wool yak blend. The next cardigan is the Shag cardigan by Johanna Geirich. And this is another wardrobe staple, but with stripes for added fun. It has a v-neck, double knit button bands, and a drop shoulder construction. This cardigan comes in 9 sizes, XS to 5XL, and it has a recommended positive ease of 15 to 20 centimeters, which is 6 to 8 inches. It is knit in a DK weight yarn on 4.5 millimeter or US 7 needles for a gauge of 20 stitches, and the sample is knit on alpaca yarn. The next one is the Artisan cardigan by Sandnes Design, and this is a cable and texture cardigan with a unique look. It has a v-neck, oversized fit and a cropped silhouette. It's knit from the top down, and you start by knitting the back. The fronts are then picked up, and unfortunately they have to be seamed to the back piece in the end. So you knit them all the way down, and you knit the back all the way down before you seam them together. However, I think it will be worth it, or maybe I can find a way to knit this all in one piece. That would be great. It comes in 9 sizes, XS to 5XL. Ease is not given, but it looks quite oversized. It's knit in a DK and a lace held together, and for some reason the needle size is not mentioned, but the gauge to hit is 22 stitches, and that's what's important anyway. The sample is knit in a merino wool and a silk mohair held together. The next one is the Haraboji cardigan by Eggio Knit. And this is the 4th pattern from Eggio Knit, and it is a cabled cardigan that you may have seen before. This beautiful jacket is knit sideways, and you start at one of the sleeves. And this would be the perfect contender for an autumn jacket, which is something that I've been wanting for a long time, but I haven't gotten around to knit it yet. It only comes in 3 sizes for a finished chest circumference of 120 to 140 centimeters, or 47.2 to 55 inches. It's knit in a worsted weight yarn on 3 and 4.5 millimeter needles, which is a US 2.5 and 7. The gauge you want to hit is 18 stitches, and the sample is knit in 100% wool yarn. And now we've come to the last category, and that is skirts and a dress. And for this section I have picked out 2 skirts and 1 dress. And I'm sure there are a lot more dresses out there, but I had to make this episode manageable, so this is what I've done. I picked the prettiest one that I could find. The first one is the Harry skirt by Lenit, or Lene Holme Samse. This is your perfect everyday A-line skirt, and this is the pattern that I have been looking for actually. And the tweed yarn gives something extra to this simple construction. The skirt is worked bottom up in the round, and it has an elastic inserted at the waist. It comes in 4 sizes, XS to XL, and it has a recommended 0 ease at both waist and hips. It's knit in a DK weight yarn on 3.5 and 4 millimeter needles, which is a US 4 and 6. And the gauge you want to hit is 19 stitches. The sample is knit in a merino, alpaca and viscose blend. The next one is the Ebba skirt by Sara Nordlund, and you may have seen this. And then you would also know that this has a matching Ebba tee featuring the same gorgeous lace pattern. This set is intended for summer wear, but knit in wool, it would work well during the cooler months as well. I love how the lace pattern opens up towards the bottom of the skirt, and the designer has been thinking about this. And she put the holes further down the skirt so that your underwear doesn't show. The skirt is knit top down in the round, and it has a folded waistband where you insert an elastic band. It comes in 9 sizes for a finished hip circumference of 85 to 153 centimeters, or 33.5 to 60.25 inches. It has a recommended ease of 0 to slightly negative, is what it says in the pattern specs. It's knit in a DK weight yarn on 3.25 millimeter needles, which is a US 3, for a gauge of 20 stitches. And the sample is knit in a cotton, viscose and linen blend yarn. And we have already reached the last pattern, and that is the Natalia dress by Maria Shea Morgenstad. And I love this light, airy and feminine looking dress with its fitted silhouette and flowy skirt. It has an open back with a tie at the neck, and I would probably knit the back a bit higher so that I can hide a bra under there. The dress is knit top down, and it has a contiguous shoulder construction and beautiful bell sleeves. You decrease to shape the waist, and then you make increases for the skirt. The dress has short rows to make the back and front the same length, which is nice. It comes in 9 sizes, 2XS to 4XL, and it has a recommended negative ease of 6 centimeters or 2.75 inches. It is knit holding a light fingering weight yarn with a lace on 4 millimeter or US 6 needles for a gauge of 21 stitches. The sample is knit in a silk yarn held with a silk mohair, so quite luxurious. And that is all of the patterns that I have for you today, and I hope you got a lot of inspiration out of that and that you're ready to bring out the wool again. Have a nice day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye!